Hey guys, it's and I've got a mid-side tutorial today. Also, you'll see it called MS M/S. So yeah, that's what that is. And as always, if you could check out my other channel, I'd love it. And like and subscribe, always a good thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, mid-side. There's two ways you can essentially stereoize a track. There's the mid-side processing, and then there's the phase delay method. And I don't like using the phase delay method myself. I know some people like doing it on certain elements of their mix, but it doesn't really work well on your mix as a whole because it sort of falls apart in mono, and I'll kind of show you in a little bit what I mean by that. And to begin with, I'm going to kind of show you what I do when I'm mastering to enhance the mid-side on a song. Okay, so basically there's two elements in a mix. I'm also going to leave you, I'm going to try to find after I make this the link to a forum that I'm on where I try to explain the difference between mid-side and stereoizing, phase delay, basically. If not, I'll try to explain it as best I can in the description as well. But anyways, there's in a stereo two bus, they're called two buses, the master of the session. On a two bus, a stereo two bus, there's basically two sets of information. There's the sides, that includes both the left and right. It's what's completely different on both of them. And then there's the mono, which is, or the middle, which is, like it sounds, it's the middle. That's basically what's exactly the same for both the left and the right channels. So when you increase the volume on the sides, all you're really doing is increasing the gain on the information that is different on the left and the right channels. It's a little confusing, but I'll try to show you here with Ozone. And also, the master I'm doing here today is a master I did a while ago for Funky Primate. He's on SoundCloud. Go check him out. The song is called Getting Down and Dirty. And pretty nice little funky electro mix, so yeah, check it out. I'm going to open up my favorite plugin ever, Ozone here, and I'm going to show you the two methods that you can use to add mid-side, or you can use to just edit in mid-side. The first is the mid-side EQ. As far as a native FL Studio plugin, a stock one, I don't know of any. Yeah, I don't know of any. So just do a Google search. I don't think there's a great vast many of mid-side EQs out there, but it's worth checking out, at least the ones that are free. So basically you get there by clicking on the stereo button when it Ozone first opens, and you're mid-side. All the red, when you're on the red values, that's going to be editing the mid, and then the blue is going to be the side. Also on the graphic EQ, you're going to see that there's a green frequencies chart being shown, and there's also a white one. The white one is all the information that's different from the left and the right channels, and then the green is the information that's the same on the left and the right channels. So check it out. Inhale, exhale. Okay, so hopefully you got kind of a understanding of how that's kind of drawn out in Ozone. And as you can see, I did kind of a common, um, it's sort of a common way of mastering. I shouldn't say a way, but it's something that a lot of people do when they're mastering. You want to do it case by case, of course, as with all mastering. But I found in this case, it certainly helped quite a bit. Um, what I did is I took out all the side information, not all the side information. I took out some side information, about 3 dB worth, from about 20 hertz all the way up to about 200 or so. And I took that off of the sides, and then the mids I added about half a dB. I might add a little bit more, just because I think it needs some. So then I added a little bit of mid in the bass, and then I also increased the sides up top, and I decreased the sides, decreased the middle up top. Okay, so you kind of see what I did there. The reason that is traditionally and on almost every commercial song that I'm aware of, the mids are generally all your bass, your vocals, all the really important stuff, and all the high information is generally kind of towards the sides, and it's I don't know, you could kind of experiment with it by trying out the bass in the sides and the bass in the mid and the sides and the the highs in the sides and the highs in the mids, and you'll kind of see what what I'm talking about there. Okay, so this is the mid-side EQ right here. Here's the stereo imager. It's a multi-band, like the other types of effects in Ozone. And you can see that there's band 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can also see that basically as you increase each percentage, it increases the width, or it sounds like it increases the width, and it does the same if you pull it down into the negative numbers. It centers it a little bit more. So you see I centered the bass. I can go a little bit more. Alright. And another key thing to kind of know is on both of these mid-side processors, the EQ and the stereo imager, what I'm basically doing to increase the width is I'm turning down the mids, or I am turning up the sides. So I'm turning down the information that is the same in both channels, the mono information, and I'm turning up the information that's different in both channels. So that's how that works, in case you were kind of wondering how that works. This is different than, and as you can see right here, I also centered the bass a little bit more, didn't do anything to the low mids, kind of widened the high mids a little bit, and even widened the highs quite a bit. So yeah, that's how that worked. Originally the song was kind of not centered, but it didn't have a solid side, so as you'll see it here on the vector scope, you'll see why I widened it a little bit. And it kind of widens up a little bit there. But yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit of openness to the sound without hollowing it out, which is why I centered the bass. Keeps that really strong center, yet it still can have a lot of side to it in the highs. All right. So you're going to want to avoid using the stereo enhancer here, at least on your entire mix on the 2-bus. You might want to use it in the mix on certain sounds or you know, whatever you please. But you don't want to use it on the 2-bus or the master, because I will show you why. This is not a mid-side processor, okay? This is a stereoizer. That's another way to kind of call it, but it's known more as a phase delay stereoizer or stereo enhancer. It's a Fruity stock plugin, but what it basically does, it takes all the information and it shifts it either left or right, and then it takes the rest of the signal, shifts it a few phases, shifts it a few ways back or forward in phase, and then it puts that to the right of it. So essentially it makes it so there is both sides that are different. So like I was saying before, mid side, the mids are mono and they're the same. The sides are stereo and they're different information. What this does is it takes whatever is, you know, being put into it, and it makes it so both sides coming out of it are different, and there's no middle basically to it. I mean, it depends on how much you offset everything, but yeah. I'm going to show you why you don't want to do that on the mix though. And keep in mind, there are many clubs out there that play only in mono, okay? And you're gonna kind of think right here, oh, you know, that's a nice wide sound. Of course, you probably won't hear it because I think my condenser mic that I'm using right now is actually a mono mic. But if you try this yourself, you're gonna think, oh, this is a nice wide sound. But then listen what happens when I put it into mono, the rest of it. And that shouldn't do that. I'm going to show you on and off what it does. That doesn't sound good at all either. There's like a slight delay there. But it gives you sort of the illusion that it's a really stereo input, but in reality, and it works decently well on mono samples that you want to be stereo, but when you put it into mono, it collapses because I think I went over this before where each sound is made up of a phase where it's kind of a wave. And if you invert that against the other sound, well, let me just give you a demonstration here. Sorry for the pause here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to invert the phase here. So this isn't going to ruin my session either because I have it saved. Yeah. Ah, what? Give it a sec. There we go. Alright, sorry about that. Okay, so I put their equal files at equal points in time, and one has the polarity of it reversed. Do you hear anything? I think not, and that is because the signals are canceling each other out. That's as simple as that. See, watch this. All of a sudden, as I move it out of phase, I should say move it back into phase slightly. But this is where both sources, I'm going to see if I could zoom in to show you. Oh, perfect. Okay, so sound waves are literally waves. And as you see this wave go up, see this little bump right here, if you reverse the polarity, which I did on the exact same file at the exact same time, you'll notice that where there's a peak on this one, there's a trough on this one. And where there's a trough on this one, there's a peak on this one. And this goes on for the entire file of the song. And thus, you're left with a song that is completely canceled out with itself. So if you sum these both together, each of these sound samples that you see represents like a number, or a number represents the sound, at least in the computer. And when you add it together with this file right here, it equals 0, and thus nothing is being played. And that's essentially what happens when you use a delay, a stereo delay. This is a long example here to show you why not to use an enhancer, but yeah, so nothing good ever comes from that when it's on your mixer master bus. Yeah. But yeah, that right there was an example not of a mid-side processor, but of a stereoizer, or a phase delay, where, I just showed you what happens, which is never a good thing. And in clubs, if you're playing, a song in a club, like this could easily be played in a club, it's that type of genre. Whenever generally the bass, the subwoofer, is in mono, and generally, sometimes the whole system is in mono, the entire sound system. All of these, the stereo, the two bus, gets summed into one channel, and if there's any phase problems, like I showed you, what can happen, it sums it together, and they'll show themselves. And that's why if you go to a club and you see a house DJ, for instance, and he's beat matching, how some mixes, when there's a kick sample, there's two kick samples lined up at the same time, how sometimes they can disappear. It's because sometimes they throw themselves out of phase, and that's why you got to be good at EQing when you're in a live show as well. But yeah, there's that. And another example of a good mid-side processor is the Waves S1. I want to say, what's another good company with one? There's some free ones out there as well. If you do a Google search, I'm sure you could find some mid-side processors. S1, you can even put that on your stereo bus if you want to widen it a little bit. That's a mid-side, not a phase delay. But yeah, you generally want your bassy elements to sit in the middle of your mix, and you want your higher elements to sit in the sides of your mix. It just sounds better, and the subwoofer in pretty much any system, in your car, on your hi-fi, is usually in mono. It makes it a lot easier, sounds better on the crossover. Or when the crossover happens. In clubs, it sounds better. You also want to try your mix out in mono. If it sounds good in mono, then you're good to go in the club. And as you can see, that one sounds good in mono. If you're unsure about anything in Ozone, you can even go into the stereo imager, go to options, and click prevent antiphase, and that will make sure that that doesn't happen, where it cancel each other out. Yeah, that's basically the lesson. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you want any of your songs mastered, I have a website. Link is in the description. I'm probably one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, mastering services you can get out there. You guys see sort of what I do. Um, I, make sure I work really close with each of my clients. I like to make sure that they like what they're hearing before I even slam it against a limiter or anything like that. So yeah, there's a little shameless plug for me in my mastering services. And again, check out my songs. Link is in the description. And thank you for watching, and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for watching.